morning.
Good morning.
Get situated here. It's good to be back with you. Yeah, you're a real sweet congregation. It's always a joy to be in your presence. So thank you for the invitation to speak. Several years ago, I was teaching in Seattle at the Gary Manuel Aveda Institute as an aesthetic instructor. And I was asked to substitute a class that I was not familiar with the students. And so that day we started off, we all stood in a circle, and I asked everyone to share their name, to say who they were, and then to say something about themselves that nobody knew. And as a way for me to get to know them, and for them to get to know each other even better. And so we went around the circle, and people were giving all kinds of interesting tidbits and information about themselves. And then we came to this beautiful Chinese young lady. And her name was Cherry. And she said, well, something about me that you don't know. And her face she blushed. She said, is that my middle name is Pie. Her name was Cherry Pie. And she said, and my brother, his name is Alfredo. Oh no, yeah. His middle name was Sauce.
Oh no.
So her parents were immigrants from China, and she said, I'm so mad at them for naming me that. So some people say that names are just mere conventions and that they don't have any intrinsic value of their own. And they believe that for all practical purposes, one name is as good as another name, right? As Unity Truth students, we know different, right? We know that names are significant. So names are not just mere identification tags. They are meaning containers. Right? Meaning containers. Our name is a story. Our names are blessings. They're dreams for our future, and they can predict your path. Your name celebrates you. And your name has a unique vibration. And you could say that it's your personal vibration signature, right? So we're here today to open to a new year and a new way of vibrating, where we're pulled towards more light, love, and life. And a name that resonates at a soul level can be for us like a North Star. It can be a guide that can help us to step into a higher vibration, a lighter, more joyful way of living life. And so that's why we're here today. So we're here to take a journey. We're on a journey, right? And we have a travel expert in our very own backyard. How many of you are familiar with Rick Steves?
Oh yeah,
Right. And he always says this repeatedly. He says, on your trip, on your journey, you're going to meet two kinds of travelers. Those who packed light and those who wish they did. Have we all had an experience with that? Yeah. So it turns out that there's actually two types of names. And one of those names is our North Star, and we're going to identify that name a little bit later on in our service. But there's another kind of a name that can lighten our load and that can free us. And so I want to share a story that will help introduce this idea to you. Of all of the strange and wonderful fairy tales that I grew up with, Rumpelstiltskin has always been, seemed to me like one of the most peculiar of the fairy tales. And so we know that this story revolves around a girl who is asked to spin straw into gold, right? Or lose her life at the hands of the king. So she's placed in this room with all of this straw, and of course she can't do that. But lo and behold, a dwarf appears out of nowhere. And this dwarf says that he can spin that straw into gold, but for a price. right? And so the first night, he does all of the spinning, and she gives him her a valuable necklace. And then the second night, she gives him her ring. And then the third night, she doesn't have anything to give him. And so what does she do? She promises her firstborn child. He makes her agree to that. And so she does. Well, after this, the king's greed is satisfied. And in fact, he's so pleased and happy with her that he decides to marry her. And so soon after they're married, she conceives a child, and she gives birth to her firstborn. And what happens? That dwarf shows up for his pounds of flesh, right? And of course, she does not want to give the baby to the dwarf. And so she offers him all kinds of valuable jewels. You know, now that she's the queen, she has a lot to offer. And he keeps saying, no, no, no. And then finally he says, if you can identify my name, if you can guess my name within 3 days, then I'll relinquish my hold on your firstborn. So she spends the first 2 days just naming names and is not successful. But one of her spies is out in the deep, dark woods, and he spies this little cottage with this little dwarf dancing around a fire in front of the cottage. And he's singing this song, and the last line is, little does my lady dream, Rumpelstiltskin is my name. And so they give the young girl this news. And so the third day, she pretends like she doesn't know his name and guesses. And then finally she says, could your name be Rumpelstiltskin? And with that, he is so enraged and so mad that he just stomps, and the ground opens and he falls in, and he's never seen again. Right? So I always felt that plunge into the subterranean void, a really eerie part of the story. But lately I've been pondering a different aspect about that story. Why did Rumpelstiltskin's name have so much power? Why was it so powerful? In mythology and in fairy tales, one of the things that every sorcerer or witch or magician will tell you is that if you have the name of a spirit, then you have power over that spirit. Why is that so? So it's interesting, in computer science, there's a very sophisticated computational process. It's a specific type of a program that runs in the background. It is quietly performing chores and duties without us being aware of it. And it's on every single computer, it's on every single smartphone. They have this program running in the background. And it's interesting, what do you think they're called? They're called demons. That computer software program is called a demon. And in Greek mythology, a nature or a demon spirit, they were believed to be constantly working in the background, behind the scenes, just like that computer software program, without our conscious knowledge. So they're operating without our permission, even so. So they're just like if we look metaphysically at what a demon is, it's a part of our shadow self, right? It's a part of ourself that maybe at one time literally saved our life, like the young woman, but now it's a part of us that we don't like and we don't want it, so it goes into the dark, but it's always operating behind the scenes without us knowing. And so in mythology, if you can name it, you have power over it, and it dissolves. So I think we can draw a line between mythology, the mythological stories, and then our computer software programs, the demons operating there, and then our own personal selves with all the demons that can weigh us down. So a demon is not something that's outside of ourself, it's just those shadow parts of ourself. And if we, by meditating through silence, if we can notice those aspects of ourself and name them, they dissolve and go away. So that's just something to think about as we start a new year, is taking a little bit of time to observe aspects of yourself that you might not be proud about, but that probably saved your life or helped you at one point. They were helpful, and just name them, give them a name so that we can travel lightly together. So we just talked about how a name can lighten our load. And now let's turn towards a name that can serve as our North Star, shining right before us and leading us onward and upward. So this, of course, can be a very significant spiritual tool and help. It can help us to keep those old patterns behind us and to move towards a new way of being and interacting in life. And this new name can come to us through meditation, it can come through dreams, or just intuitive knowing. But just taking a little bit of time to recognize a new name for yourself. And some names are meant to last, for a lifetime or for a really long period of time. But we can also have names for just a specific time period. So for example, like for the year 2018, each year we have an opportunity to give ourselves a new name, a new North Star for that year. And this is biblically based. So we know that there were a lot of individuals, right, who were given new names in the scriptures. And the very first example is in the very first book of the Old Testament, the book of Genesis. Abraham and Sarah were given. So their names started off as Abram and Sarai. And I wanted to share this story because, Abraham is a great unifier, right? Over 55% of our world's population belong to an Abrahamic faith. So the Islams, Christian, Jews, and Zoroastrian, Baha'is, these are all faiths that hold Abraham as the father of their faith. So this story begins with the divine extending a call to Abram and Sarai, a call to journey forth from the land, from your birthplace, from your father's house, to an unknown land that I will make known to you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will increase your name, and you shall be a blessing. So Abram and Sarai were called to journey forth. And this isn't just about a physical journey from one location to another, right? This story is each one of our story. This story is really about each one of us. And it's a call, it's more than a physical question, it's a spiritual question. Are you ready to journey forth into new spiritual territory, right? So where are you on your life's journey? Are you ready to answer a new call? Abram responds, "Here I am." And that response is more than just a physical accounting, right? It's a mental, emotional, and a spiritual accounting. I am here. I am ready to begin. I am ready to journey forth. I am here ready to do my part, to be in relationship and partnership with the creative, all-encompassing power and presence, known by many names but defined by none, of power and presence we often call God. And so we all have a call to hear this and a new name to receive. We all have a journey to make. We all have a purpose and a unique gift that only we can give the world, right? We all have a duty to be our most authentic self, and to take a path that leads to the heart of who we truly are. So this call that was given to Abram and Sarai is a call that's given to each and every one of us. We don't know much about this couple, right? But we do know this about them. The story specifically says that Sarai was barren, that she had no child. And this is a lot deeper and a lot more than just a comment or an observation about childbearing. Because in fact, Abram and Sarai were spiritually barren, right, at the beginning of their journey. So although the land that they lived in was fertile and abundant, it was spiritually barren. They were missing something there. And so they set forth into the unknown with the hopes of bringing forth literally new life, but also through living in partnership with the power and presence that we call God. So this was their calling, and this is why they made their journey, and it's each and every one of our calling. I don't know if you remember, but Abraham, he was called Abram the Hebrew. And it's the very first time in the Bible that word Hebrew is ever used. And it actually means, the word Hebrew means one who passes through water, making a journey from one reality to another. Isn't that interesting? So the word Hebrew means one who passes through water, making a journey from one reality to another. Abram and Sarai were a couple who made a journey, not just through geographical terrain, but a journey that was forward and into themselves, a journey that crossed over mental, emotional, and the spiritual landscape of their life. And so they're both given a new name, and an H, the letter H, is added to their name. Abram becomes Abraham, and Sarai becomes Sarah. And that H in Hebrew has significance, and it symbolizes transformation. So in Hebrew, they would call it a hey, H-E-Y, no, H-E-H. And it's a transformation that is symbolic of God's presence in your life. So because of their willingness to journey into the unknown, each one of them has been infused with divine spirit, with God, and their new name reflects that change. What is your new name going to sound like with the addition of God, with the addition of spirit in your life? So it's interesting that according to other scriptural sources, even Hagar, the Egyptian princess that was given to Sarah, she too receives a new name. And her new name with the H added becomes Keturah. And she ultimately, if you read the Bible, she is reunited after Sarah passes away. She is reunited with him, and their families live together in peace. That's something that in the Christian world we don't often focus on, but other scriptures back that up. So what is your new name going to sound like with the addition of spirit? White stone ceremonies are often based on a scripture passage from Revelations, right? The book of Revelations. And this is the scripture. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who is victorious, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will also give that person a white stone with a new name on it, known only to the one who receives it. So in this amazing verse, there are actually 2 calls to action, and then there's 3 promises. And the 2 calls to action, so the first one is the action of listening, right? Who has an ear to hear? And it's not talking about our physical ears, it's talking about our spiritual ears and our ability to listen to the quiet, still voice of Spirit speaking to us. So in order to do that, we have to get out of our head, right? Out of our intellect, and let our attention and focus drop into our heart space to be able to truly hear. So the second action that we're called to do is to be victorious. And this is about an inner victory, right? It's about surrendering our small egoic self and birthing our essential Christ self, just as Jesus taught and demonstrated. So that's our part, to listen with our inner ear and to be victorious, to surrender our small egos and allow our greater, higher Christ self to be birthed. So the 3 promises, first, hidden manna. So when we are in the wilderness of our spiritual searching, we are promised that we'll receive hidden manna, not visible to the world. We are given spiritual energy and nourishment that sustains us in the form of grace. So we are given grace at every turn. I know that is true. We are given grace. And it nourishes our soul, it nourishes our body, and it benefits our whole being. The second promise is a white stone. So I'm sure you're familiar that in ancient times when a slave or a prisoner was released, they were given a white stone as a symbol of their freedom. So metaphysically, each one of us comes from the bondage of living with a false sense of separation from God, right? We believe that we're separate from the divine. And this bondage is caused by false limitations, old beliefs, and error thinking. And it literally creates prison walls for us in our life. So with the release from bondage comes a sense of worthiness, that we are beloved by God, that we are one with the divine. We are free and unlimited. And so the third promise was a new name. And the story of a new name is common in the Bible and in other sacred texts and even in mythology. So included in Isaiah's writings in the Old Testament, he writes the story of our bondage. And he describes it in beautiful Hebrew poetry. And this story reveals our I am presence, who has been called and anointed to lead us out of bondage, out of captivity. And it begins, interestingly, by the I am presence shining a light on the fact that we are in bondage. I know we've all had experiences where you realize, I'm living like I'm in bondage. You know, something's not quite right here, right? And our I am presence is able to name that bondage. And once it names it, it starts dissolving those blocks. And we're told that once that happens, you shall be called by a new name, that the mouth of the Lord shall reveal, that the I am will give to you. So we're going to receive that today. With the help of our new name, a name that calls us into a new identity, we are then able, according to the book of Isaiah, to lay hold on freedom. Is anyone in here interested in living in a more free way? Right, more empowered, free way. Names are not mere identification tags. They are meaning containers. They are stories. They are blessings. They are dreams for your future, and they predict your path. They celebrate you. A name is a vibration, and a name that resonates with your soul is a North Star, pointing you in the right direction, guiding you onward and upward. So what is your new name going to sound like with the addition of divine spirit? So to prepare for our meditation, Derek is going to lead us in a song.
I will change your name. You shall no longer be called wounded, outcast, lonely, or afraid. I will change your name. Your new name shall be confidence, joyfulness, overcoming one, faithfulness, friend of God, one who sees my face.
Let's have everybody sing it.
I will change your name. You shall no longer be called wounded, outcast, lonely, or afraid. I will change your name. Your new name shall be confidence, joyfulness, overcoming one, faithfulness, friend of God, one who sees my face.
So sitting comfortably, I invite you to close your eyes and just allow your breath to carry you into the present moment, right here, right now. A new year, 2018. So I invite you to see in your mind a little ball of golden light. And just watch as this golden light begins to grow larger and larger until now it covers the entire vision of your mind. See within the light a temple. And you see a garden that surrounds the temple and a body of water that runs through the garden. See that the inside of the temple is lit by the same beautiful golden light. You have been drawn here by the power and in the presence of God the Good. I am here, you declare. And you see that there is an angel with a pitcher standing above you. And now the angel pours this golden elixir over the top of your head. And the pitcher is filled with an electric, light-filled golden elixir. This light emanates from the mind of God. And it now pours through the top of your head and into your brain. This light pours into your brain, restoring, healing, revitalizing every cell, every cell, every cell. This light pours through the bones of your skull, the bones of your face, all of the muscles of your head. This light pours into your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, your hair. Your entire head is now filled with this golden elixir. And the light continuing to intensify. It's now moving down through your neck. You feel the relaxation in your neck. This light moving now, racing through the blood itself, revitalizing every cell of the blood. Your blood revitalized with health, with vibrancy, with optimum functioning as this light continues down into every cell, every muscle, every organ, the bones, the skin. The light continues down now into your torso. The muscles, the bones, the breasts, oxygenated with light. Every cell, the heart receiving now this revitalization, this light, this restoration, this medicine of God. Your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your abdomen, your colon, your muscles, your arteries, the capillaries of your skin. The light pouring down now into the shoulders, down through the upper arm, elbows, every muscle, every bone revitalized. The cells are so happy to receive that for which they have thirsted as this light continues now down through every part of your body, your wrists, your hands, your fingers, your thighs. Just allow yourself to receive as this light blazes and rushes through your blood. The blood itself becomes all that it is intended to do, carrying now the light of God down into your knees, your ankles, and your toes. And you are alive. Every cell of your being now filled with divine light. The light has come and made all things new. So once more you look up and you see a most glorious being descending from above. And as you gaze upon the beauty and the majesty of this being, you see the reflection of your own divine image. this divine being now hovering just above, proclaims you clean and whole, every whit. And you are called up to receive a gift, the gift of a new identity, a new name, a name that will be to you as a North Star, whispering into your ear. You hear this new name. So listen now and receive. So I invite you to silently repeat the name that was given to you, to yourself. And if you haven't received it yet, know with full confidence that sometime later on in the day, that this name will be revealed to you. You have been called. You have been called forth into a higher and holier vibration, the vibration of love, peace, and joy. You have been called to be a blessing to the world. So I invite you to silently say to yourself, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I am here. I am here. I am here. So just feel the presence of the divine, of God, and know that you are one with all that is. Know your I amness with God. Feel the loving, life-giving presence as it surrounds and supports you. Know right now that you are safe, you are secure, you are loved and supported by the presence of divine, loving intelligence. Know that you are encouraged by your fellow travelers, and know that you are indeed loved and supported by this spiritual community, unity of Bremerton. Behold, the Christ of God in each of us says, I make all things new. And so we give thanks. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. So when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and to write your new name on your white stone. Does everyone have one? If you don't have a stone, just raise your hand and we'll get one to you. And so while we're doing that, I just wanted to conclude by saying that W.C. Fields said, it ain't what they call you, it's what you answer to. So beginning right here, right now, in this year, 2018, we all now answer to a new name.